What is up? Episode 39 of the Austin Stand-Up Comedy Podcast. Shouts out, I'm sorry if y'all hear me poking around on my phone. I do apologize. Shouts out to Mark Pena, who has mixed damn near every one of these episodes. And done a stellar job, all right? Really do appreciate the work here, Mark. I know you're going to listen to this because you have to in some form. Or maybe he won't listen to this. If he doesn't comment, that means he's not listening to it. He's forwarding him to somebody who's doing the work and then sending it back, getting the credit. So I appreciate the hustle and the effect. Appreciate the hustle and respect the effort. There we go. That's what I was trying to say. My brain combined three words into one word. But what is this? What did you guys stumble upon here? Well, let me tell you, this is the Austin Stand-Up Comedy Podcast. This is a podcast where I talk about stand-up comedians in Austin, what I know about them, what I like about them, any jokes that I remember, any goofy stories, interactions that I've had with them, in hopes of injecting some positivity into the Austin stand-up comedy scene. A couple comedians I would like to talk about today. I'd like to talk about Pat Sirois. I'd like to talk about LaRon Wright. And I'd like to talk about Parker Benton. So let's get right into it. Pat Sirois. So Pat Sirois is a comedian that I know has been around for a minute here in Austin, but I hadn't seen him a lot when I was out on the scene. He was, I guess, that's just kind of the way it works sometimes. Some people you just miss. So I know there are some comedians that have been doing comedy in Austin for a while, and I know that they've been around for a while. I've seen they've been on bills, but I don't know them well enough to have formed an opinion or even think about any jokes. So I want to try to avoid bringing up people that I'm just going to be like, yeah, they're cool. They seem cool. I don't know any jokes. I haven't had any interactions with them, and I haven't really seen them on stage much. So if I haven't reviewed you, don't be offended. That's why. Anyhow, Pat, I saw a long time ago, if you go back a few episodes where I talked about the Spider House days. I saw Pat before I even stepped on stage to tell jokes. And I remembered very vividly him coming in and having a train-like presence on stage. Not the band train, but in the way that a train moves constantly without veering. And he had a joke where he talked about Lent and giving up something for Lent. And the only reason I'll give more details is just because I don't know if he tells this joke anymore, but it's about giving up something for Lent. And he talks about his boss and what his boss gave up for Lent. I don't know if he tells that joke anymore, but in case he does, I don't want to spoil it and throw it out there, but that joke was as one of the more well-written jokes I had heard at the time when I was just attending stand-up sets. And it was a really small crowd. I think, again, it might have just been me and the bartender for all I know. But I got a lot of joy out of listening to that joke because it was funny, but it was also super well-crafted. And I haven't really seen him too much since then, but I think the times that I did see him, I was like, oh yeah, shit, he's gotten better too. So shout out to you, Pat. I don't know you. I know you and AJ got a relationship. I don't know why I said it like that. I know you're friends with AJ. So any friend of AJ's is a friend of mine. But yeah, so I hope you're doing well. Let's talk about LaRon Wright. So LaRon I've only seen twice. But like I'd said a few minutes ago, some comedians I've seen, but just not enough to form an opinion. LaRon, I think the first time I saw him on stage was at Velveeta, and I was like, oh, this guy, he's had to have been doing it for a while. Because I remember he went up and didn't necessarily have a lot of like formulated jokes, but was just funny, was just had this presence of being funny on stage. And then I think the other time I saw him, he did do like an act, like where he had jokes ready. But I just remember the first time having such an impact. And I don't like to compare comedians, but what I really like about him is his voice kind of has a modern, not an old school, but a modern Dave Chappelle quality to it, where it's like, I don't even know if I can do it. Lower, there's something Dave does with his S's too. He kind of like hangs on them for a second. I really enjoy it. So shout out to you, LaRon. Hope you're doing well, sir. Hope to see more of you in the future. And let's talk about Parker Benton. Wrap it all up, right? Okay, so after this one, I got one more episode, and then I'm done with this portion or this type of these type of episodes. So saved a couple special comedians for the last episode of this style of podcast. But let's talk about Parker. So this might be a little controversial, but I feel confident that I saw Parker birth a very integral joke to somebody's act. I saw him remark on somebody's set, and that comedian took that joke and has used it in his set ever since. Parker might know. He might know. Somebody else might know, I'm sure. I remember where it was, too, where I saw it. So that's the story that I have about him. But also I remember he's got some really good jokes. He's kind of got like a country accent a little bit. He's got a little bit of a drawl. But it's really funny. It's like if a dude in college who was at a frat party started telling jokes, it would be Parker. Not super fratty. All the positive aspects of a frat are instilled into Parker. I remember one time he told a joke. I can't think of like his joke specifically at the moment, but I do remember at one point he told a joke about gaining weight, and he held his arms out, and then he grabbed the mic and rubbed it from the top of his neck down to his stomach and back up really fast. Like, he was like, man, look, man, this is what I got to work with. It's a terrible Parker impression, but I just remember that being really funny. Like the way he did it so quick, and it was just such a funny part of the joke. So shout out to you. And he also somebody who sounds the same way that he does on stage, off stage. So like, I think some people kind of, ham it up a little bit on stage, but I think that's just the way he talks, which is like just naturally funny. So shout out to you, Parker. Hope you're doing well. Shout out to the 3 comics I talked about today. If you're a stand-up comedian in Austin, there's a good chance I'm either going to talk about you or I have talked about you. If you want to see if I've talked about you, the YouTube page is searchable. Search your name. Pop in there. See if I have. If I haven't, there's a good chance. Well, I got one more episode, so you never know. Maybe I'll talk about more comedians the more I get back out on the scene. If you're newer, there's a possibility I haven't seen you. Either way, if you're listening to this independently of the Instagram channel, make sure to go follow Austin Stand-Up Comedy. You got 5 posts on there right now, and those things are just, they're really taking off. I'm talking several likes on each photo. So, get in there before it really explodes. In the meantime, stay safe, stay healthy. Stand-up comedy's coming back. It's coming back very soon. In the meantime, have a good night.